We're turning now to racial bias in medicine. This morning, we have an inside look at one hospital organization that is taking major steps to make big changes when it comes to treating patients of color. Janae Norman is at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York with more on this new initiative. Good morning, Janae.
Hey, Amy, good morning. Experts point to significant disparities in healthcare for Black and brown Americans, like delays in treatment, misconceptions about pain, and not being believed by some medical professionals. And all of that helped jumpstart a first-of-its-kind initiative here at New York's Mount Sinai Hospital.
You may feel some discomfort today, and so I encourage you to be curious about that discomfort and perhaps lean into that.
They're called Chats for Change, frank and frankly uncomfortable conversations about racial bias in medicine.
When you ask doctors, they'll say, I treat all my patients the same. I don't really understand why there are healthcare disparities. It's because you don't.
I'm seen as someone who has more authority or who has more training than I actually do.
Racial bias is at play every day.
They're part of the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai's Racial Bias Initiative, a first-of-its-kind program launched in 2015 with a lofty mission statement to provide health care and education that's free of racism and bias. Free of racism and bias. That's a huge undertaking. How do you think that you go about that? Because that's obviously, it's not an end goal as much as a continuation, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We had to set a goal that was so aspirational that it would be clear to everyone around us it was a never-ending endeavor.
It's people and it's the actual structure of the medical school. What are the ways in which that we set up conditions that either knowingly or unknowingly perpetuate racism?
We can't afford to not address it and head on.
Racial bias is pervasive in the way it impacts the care of people of color in devastating and potentially fatal ways. One study showed Black and brown Americans wait longer for care in the ER than white people. According to the CDC, Black babies have a higher rate of dying in their first year of life compared to white babies. Another study finding Black Americans are undertreated for pain compared to white Americans.
Traumatizing. I mean, how do you trust a system that is ready to send you home because for whatever reason, they don't want to hear you?
In 2017, Camilla Mitchell says she was in the emergency room for 8 hours, even given a breathalyzer test before getting treatment for uterine cancer. She's now consulting with Dr. Joy Cooper, whose clinic in Oakland, California, connects Black women with Black doctors.
I always tell people that the healthcare system was not designed for Black women in mind. J. Marion Sims, who's considered one of the fathers of gynecology, actually performed surgeries on slaves with their master's consent without anesthesia.
We really need to dig deep and undo generations of structural racism in our profession.
There is a long history of mistrust of medical institutions within Black and brown communities that go back centuries. How do you hope an initiative like this can help improve that?
It is all focused on changing us, who we are, how we function. How do we recruit new scientists and doctors? How do we promote them? How do we make decisions about resource allocation?
There's a lot of work going on now that I think is super important around racism in medicine and what are the new interventions that we can come up with.
The program was launched by medical students wanting to address the problem, and officials say that this has helped create a sense of belonging for those students who appreciate a culture of tackling racism head on. Amy?
Yeah, so important. Janae, thank you so much for bringing that to us.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.